Every one of us has walked through moments of suffering that felt unbearable. The pressure of stress, the sting of rejection, the silence of loneliness, the weight of expectations. It can feel like the world is on fire and we're standing right in the middle of it. Most people run from that fire, trying to escape it, trying to numb themselves or hide from the pain. But there is another way. A monk once said, "Do not fear the flames of suffering, for they are not here to destroy you, but to purify you." Imagine if every struggle, every disappointment, every emotional wound you carry could become fuel instead of a burden. Imagine if the very suffering that once broke, you could be transformed into a fire that gives you strength, clarity, and an unshakable spirit. This is the path of wisdom, the path that turns pain into power and suffering into transformation. Stress is everywhere in today's world. It hides in endless deadlines at work, in the bills waiting on the table, in the competition to stay ahead, and in the constant digital noise that never lets the mind rest. For most people, stress feels like a heavy chain that drags them down, leaving them exhausted and defeated. But monks see it differently. They understand that stress is not just a curse, it is raw energy that can either destroy you or shape you into something stronger, depending on how you respond. When you run from stress, it multiplies, but when you face it, breathe through it, and channel it, it becomes a powerful teacher. Think of it like fire. It can burn you to ashes if you fear it. But if you learn to control it, the same fire can cook your food, warm your home, and forge metal into unbreakable steel. Instead of telling yourself, "I can't handle this pressure," train your mind to ask, "How can this pressure help me grow tougher, wiser, and more disciplined?" Monks transform stress by turning it into practice. They wake early, meditate through discomfort, and take on challenges willingly so that stress becomes fuel for resilience rather than poison. The truth is, stress will never disappear from life, but it doesn't have to control you. It can strengthen you, sharpen you, and prepare you for the storms of the world, if you choose to use it instead of letting it use you. Rejection is one of the hardest pains in modern life. Whether it's being turned down for a job you work so hard for, losing someone you love, or watching a dream slip through your fingers after years of effort. In that moment, it feels like the world has shut its doors and left you standing outside in the cold. Most people carry rejection like a wound that never heals, replaying it in their minds until it becomes heavy bitterness. But monks see rejection differently. They see it not as an ending, but as a signpost, a hidden door pointing toward a path you were meant to walk. The truth is, failure does not mean you are unworthy. It means life is redirecting you towards something better aligned with who you are becoming. Every closed door is an invitation to look deeper, to sharpen your skills, to let go of illusions, and to build strength that comfort could never give you. Think of rejection as fire. It burns painfully in the moment, but it also melts away false attachments, leaving behind the pure steel of resilience. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" shift the question to, "Where is this leading me next?" What feels like loss today is often the very thing that saves you from settling for less than you deserve tomorrow. Rejection is not punishment, it is redirection, and if you learn to see it that way, suffering will stop being a wall that blocks you and start becoming a bridge that carries you forward. We live in an age where everyone wants the last word, where arguments explode online in seconds, and where silence is often mistaken for weakness. Yet monks understand something profound. Silence is not weakness, it is mastery. When someone insults you, challenges you, or tries to provoke you, your immediate reaction might be to defend yourself, to fight back, to prove your worth. But this only feeds the fire, giving the other person power over your emotions. True strength is shown not in how loudly you respond, but in how calmly you choose not to. Silence disarms conflict in a way words never can. It makes the aggressor question themselves, it stops the cycle of anger, and it preserves your inner peace. Think of silence like water poured onto flames. It does not ignore the fire, it simply refuses to let it grow. In a noisy world filled with endless opinions, arguments, and judgments, choosing silence is an act of wisdom. It means you value your peace more than proving a point, your growth more than being right. Every time you hold back a reaction and remain calm, you rise above the chaos instead of sinking into it. Non-reaction does not mean you are powerless. It means you are powerful enough not to be controlled. The monk's path teaches that silence is not the absence of response. It is the presence of strength. And in today's world, it is one of the rarest and most powerful weapons you can carry. Loneliness is one of the deepest pains of our generation. You can be surrounded by hundreds of friends online, thousands of followers, and still feel empty when the screen goes dark. People go to bed scrolling, not because they care about the content, but because they fear facing silence. They attend gatherings, smile for photos, and laugh with others, but inside they feel an ache no one can see. Modern life has given us constant connection, but very little true closeness, and this silent loneliness eats away at the heart. Most people fight it by drowning themselves in distractions, endless scrolling, binge watching, chasing relationships not out of love, but out of fear of being alone. Yet monks walk into solitude willingly, because they know it is not a punishment, but a path to strength. Where most see emptiness, monks see clarity. Solitude is where you finally meet yourself without masks, where you learn that peace and wholeness do not come from others, but from within. Loneliness hurts because we resist it. We think it means something is wrong with us, that we are incomplete, that no one sees our worth. But solitude, when embraced, transforms that pain into power. It teaches you that you are enough without constant validation, that you don't need to cling to others just to feel alive. In solitude, monks meditate, reflect, and strip away illusions until they stand face to face with their true selves. And in that stillness, they find a strength far greater than anything the world can give or take away. Imagine transforming that empty silence you dread into a sanctuary where you rebuild your spirit, where you gather wisdom, and where you train your heart to no longer depend on anyone else for peace. That is the secret of solitude. It takes the fire of loneliness, which feels unbearable, and turns it into the fire of independence and clarity. In today's world, learning this lesson is more important than ever, because if you do not know how to stand strong alone, you will always depend on others for your worth, and that dependence will keep you chained. But when you can sit alone, calm and content, you carry a power that no rejection, no abandonment, no emptiness can shake. Solitude does not make you weaker. It makes you whole. It does not take love away. It prepares you to love more purely, without fear or neediness. Loneliness is the wound, but solitude is the fire that heals it. And once you master it, you are no longer afraid of silence, because silence becomes your greatest source of strength. Loneliness is the hidden suffering of our time, and yet few dare to speak about it honestly. In a world that seems more connected than ever, with endless notifications, constant group chats, and thousands of digital friends, people quietly carry a hollow emptiness that gnaws at them when the noise fades. They scroll late at night not because the content is meaningful, but because silence feels unbearable. They chase shallow conversations and temporary companionships, not because it fills them with joy, but because they fear what will surface if they are left alone with their thoughts. This is why loneliness today feels heavier than it did in the past, because we are surrounded by the illusion of connection while starving for the reality of it. The truth is that loneliness has become one of the greatest sufferings of modern life, and most people try to numb it instead of understanding it. But monks walk a different path. They choose solitude not as a burden, but as a source of strength. For them, silence is not an enemy to escape, but a companion to embrace. Where most people feel emptiness, monks find clarity. Solitude is their training ground, the space where they learn to face themselves without masks, without distractions, without the false comfort of constant validation. And in that stillness, they discover something powerful, the realization that they are whole even without others, that they do not need approval, attention, or noise to know their own worth. What makes loneliness so painful is the belief that we are incomplete, that we are missing something, that we are less because we are alone. But solitude teaches the opposite. It shows you that you are not less without people. You are simply given the chance to grow deeper within yourself. Think about it. How many people stay in toxic friendships, broken relationships, or meaningless groups just to avoid being alone. They cling to what hurts them because solitude feels scarier than pain. But the monk understands that this fear is an illusion. Loneliness is only unbearable when resisted. Once embraced, it transforms from a prison into freedom. In solitude, you stop running away from yourself and begin to hear the voice that gets drowned out by the world, the voice of your own soul. It is in solitude that monks sharpen their awareness, heal their emotions, and rise above the constant pull of society's noise. When you sit in solitude, yes, it hurts at first, because the silence brings out all the thoughts and emotions you've been avoiding. But if you stay with it, if you breathe through it, that same silence becomes a sanctuary. The very fire of loneliness that once burned you now becomes the fire that strengthens you. And this lesson is more important today than ever before. Because if you cannot stand alone, you will always depend on others for your sense of identity, for your happiness, for your peace, and dependence creates suffering. But when you learn to sit alone, calm, steady, and content, you develop an inner power that no abandonment, no rejection, no emptiness can shake. Solitude makes you untouchable because your worth no longer depends on what anyone else gives or takes away. This does not mean you stop loving others or pushing people away. It means you stop clinging out of fear and you start choosing connections from a place of strength rather than weakness. That is the monk's secret. Loneliness is not a punishment, it is an opportunity. It is the fire that reveals your independence, your clarity, and your unshakable center. And when you master solitude, you realize that silence is not empty. It is full of answers, full of healing, full of strength. If there is one battlefield that defines the strength of the human spirit, it is not the wars fought outside, but the silent war of our reactions within. In today's world, people are surrounded by endless triggers. The harsh comment on social media, the rejection email after months of effort, the family member who doesn't understand, the colleague who tries to outshine you, the traffic jam when you're already late, or the painful silence of someone you love walking away. For most people, these moments act like sparks thrown into dry grass. Anger flares up, stress takes over, frustration blinds judgment, and before they even realize it, they've handed away their peace to something they couldn't control. But monks are trained to see this differently. They know that life itself cannot be controlled, but our reactions, those fleeting, crucial moments after something happens, are the one space where freedom is born. They understand that between the stimulus and the response lies a sacred pause, and in that pause lives your power to choose. This pause is where ordinary people become slaves to impulse, but it is also where extraordinary people become masters of themselves. Imagine the difference. One person is insulted and immediately fires back, their pride leading to conflict that escalates. Another person, hearing the same insult, remains calm, smiles, and walks away with dignity. The insult was the same, the event was the same, but the outcomes were worlds apart, all because of the response. This is why monks say suffering is not in the situation, it is in the reaction. The situation might hurt, but your response decides whether the hurt turns into wisdom or whether it multiplies into misery. Modern life encourages us to react instantly. Messages must be answered in seconds. Emotions must be expressed immediately. Everyone is conditioned to move faster and louder. But wisdom whispers the opposite. Stillness is stronger than speed. Patience is sharper than anger. Silence is louder than noise. When you master your reactions, you stop being a puppet to the world and become the one holding the strings of your own mind. Monks spend years disciplining themselves not because they want to escape life, but because they want to face it with unshakable balance. They meditate not to avoid pain, but to build the inner fire that transforms pain into strength. When an insult comes, they see it as a test of compassion. When failure arrives, they see it as a lesson in humility. When stress strikes, they see it as a chance to strengthen resilience. Every reaction becomes training, every challenge becomes practice, and every storm becomes a teacher. This is not weakness, it is the highest form of power. Anyone can throw anger back at anger, but only the strong can transform anger into peace. Anyone can collapse in defeat, but only the strong can rise with clarity. To master your reactions is to forge an inner armor that no insult, no loss, no disappointment can penetrate. Think about the greatest leaders, thinkers, and spiritual teachers of history. Their strength was not in avoiding difficulty, but in how they responded to it. The monk walking calmly through chaos is not avoiding reality. He is showing the world that true control lies not in controlling events, but in controlling oneself. The world outside will always be unstable. People will disappoint you, life will test you, and suffering will come uninvited. But if you learn to master your reactions, then no matter how fierce the fire around you, you will walk through it without being consumed. Instead of burning, you will shine, because the flames will not destroy you. They will forge you into someone unbreakable. Every human being wishes for a life without suffering, but the reality is that pain, loss, failure, rejection, and struggle are as certain as the rising sun. Most people run from suffering, numbing themselves with distractions, drowning it with noise, or burying it beneath temporary pleasures, hoping it will disappear. But monks are taught to face suffering directly, to stand in the fire instead of escaping it, because they know something the world often forgets. Suffering is not the enemy, it is the teacher. The deepest strength, the sharpest clarity, and the most profound wisdom are not born from comfort, but from pain. It is the fire of suffering that melts away illusions, burns away ego, and leaves behind only what is real. The modern world tells us to avoid discomfort at all costs, to seek shortcuts, to chase quick happiness, to run from anything that hurts. But what happens when the unavoidable storms of life arrive? Comfort has not prepared us, distraction has not saved us. In that moment, it is only those who have embraced suffering, who have walked through the fire before, who emerge unshaken. Think about your own life. The moments that shaped you most deeply were not the easy ones. It was the heartbreak that taught you strength, the failure that taught you resilience, the rejection that forced you to grow, the loss that showed you the value of presence. Without those fires, you would not be who you are today. Monks see suffering not as punishment, but as purification. Just as gold must be refined in flames to shine, the human soul must sometimes pass through suffering to awaken its true power. This doesn't mean seeking pain, but it means not fearing it. When pain comes, instead of asking, "Why me?" monks ask, "What is this here to teach me? How can this suffering shape me into someone wiser, stronger, and more compassionate?" By asking these questions, they transform wounds into wisdom, scars into strength, and challenges into fuel. In the modern world, people collapse under suffering because they have been taught to believe that struggle is a sign of failure. But monks see struggle as the path itself, the very process that carves out inner greatness. Without resistance, muscles do not grow. Without challenges, minds do not sharpen. Without trials, souls do not awaken. Every difficulty you face is not there to crush you, but to call you higher. When you stop fighting suffering and instead learn to walk with it, you stop being its victim and start becoming its master. You no longer see suffering as a wall, but as a doorway. And once you walk through it, you discover a version of yourself that you never thought possible, a self that is fearless, patient, compassionate, and unbreakable. The world today celebrates comfort, but the truth is that comfort never created greatness. Every strong leader, every wise teacher, every resilient soul you admire has been forged in fire. They did not escape suffering, they endured it, learned from it, and let it transform them into something far beyond what they once were. You too carry that same fire within you. The question is not whether you will face suffering, because you will, but whether you will let it destroy you or let it awaken you. The monk's path shows us that when we embrace the fire of suffering, when we stop running from pain and instead use it as the very fuel for transformation, then nothing in this world can break us. Suffering becomes no longer a curse, but a sacred fire, one that does not burn us to ashes, but burns away everything that is weak, false, and temporary, leaving only the unshakable core of who we truly are. Conclusion: life will never be free of suffering. The storms will come, the losses will arrive, the disappointments will cut deep, and the world will keep testing your strength. But the monk's path teaches us that suffering is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of transformation. Every moment of stress, rejection, or pain is not there to crush you, but to shape you into someone far greater than you were yesterday. You can let suffering break you, or you can let it burn away your weakness and ignite your strength. The choice is always yours. Remember this: gold does not shine until it has passed through fire, and the human soul is no different. Do not curse the flames in your life. Learn to walk through them with dignity because they are refining you. Stop running from discomfort, stop fearing challenges, and stop thinking that peace means the absence of struggle. True peace comes when you are no longer controlled by the chaos around you, when you can stand in the middle of the storm and remain unshaken. If you can master your stress, your fears, your attachments, your reactions, then no person, no failure, no hardship can take your peace away. You will carry within you a fire that no storm can extinguish. This is the power of the monk's path, turning suffering into strength, turning pain into wisdom, turning every trial into fuel for your awakening. So when life tests you, and it will, remember that you are not being destroyed. You are being forged. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The fire you fear is the fire that will set you free. Step into it, embrace it, and rise from it. Unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable.